Hi and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being on time today. We're going to jump right into things here. But while people are trickling in, just drop me in the chat where you're tuning in from. And also if you are a student, put S in the chat, post-graduation work permit holder, put a P. And if you're outside of Canada, put an O. Or if you're other, put an O. So that I just know who I'm talking to and help to identify where everybody is at. Okay, so I'm seeing some P's, I'm seeing some S's, so mostly students and post-graduation work permit holders in here. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna jump right into things here. Just a quick disclaimer, guys, this is an information session only. This is not going to assess your eligibility for any Canadian immigration program. It is for information only and for you to take this information and see how it applies to you and your situation. And if you need legal advice, seek it from a professional or licensed immigration consultant, okay? So first of all, we're going to say the traditional way, or probably even the way that you were told of how you will get to stay in Canada if you study in Canada is that you're going to go to school in Canada to study. Then you're going to get a work permit when you work. Then somehow you are going to probably join the express entry pool and become a permanent resident. And this is what I was told as well. In fact, when I started, express entry wasn't even open yet. So we were just supposed to figure out the routes to permanent residency. So this big question mark here is going to speak to now the current express entry landscape, right? Express entry used to be sort of the guaranteed route to convert to permanent residency as a student or a post-graduation work permit holder. However, in recent times, you're going to see here where I have on screen the express entry draws for since December the 18th, right? And for anybody who needs to understand, the general draws means anybody who is in the express entry pool. Okay, so that's Canadian experience class, that's federal skilled worker. Anybody who is in the express entry pool will get called in the general draw. But then they have special draws. So I'm going to zoom in on this in a second here. So we can see where the general draws, the scores are high, guys. The last one was yesterday, 549 points. And that's coming from 524, 546 down in January. And even in December, they had 560. So the points are trending high. When I got called in the express entry draw back when express entry was brand new in 2015, the score was 450. That was the draw that I was called in, and I had 499 points. In today's landscape, not even I would get called in express entry. So this is where I'm highlighting now where the French language proficiency scores. So we know that there's category-based draws for express entry now, right? There is STEM, there's French, there's transportation, agriculture, and healthcare. And these are outside of the general draws. And these points are lower. So 365, 336, 388. So they're in the 300s, below 400. And the average person who probably came to school in Canada is working for a year. Probably most of you are on a 1-year work permit. Let me know in the chat if you're on a 1-year work permit, put 1, 2 years, put 2. Well, there's no 2-year work permit. So you're at a 1 or a 3-year work permit, right? So put it in the chat on how long your work permit is. But a 1-year is you're probably on a permit that is, okay, so we have a lot of 3s, perfect, right? A permit that is probably 1 year is going to not have more than 400 points, right? Or a little bit over 400 points, but not more than 500, generally speaking. So this is where, okay, 3, but almost 1 year is over. All right, good. Thank you for dropping that in the chat and interacting with me there, guys. Perfect. So this is where learning French will help in this situation and why we're having this webinar today, okay? So last year in November, the government said, you know, we're going to tell you what the targets are for 2024 to 2026, okay? And they have added this new category for overall French-speaking permanent residents, right? An allotment of 26,100 people in French-speaking communities outside of Quebec. Quebec was a notorious province for French speakers, but now they've opened up French-speaking outside of Quebec and have allotted this 26,000. And each year, the number goes up, right? So there's 37. And some of you who are on 3-year work permits, you still have 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years left. So each year, this number goes up, right? It goes up to 37 and 30, 31 and 37, I believe. But what we need to understand, especially in express entry, one, the points are high, but also the government let us know last year, the end of 2023, that there were about 900,000 study permit applications in Canada right now. So 900,000 people who are trying to likely get permanent residency in Canada. But you see this category here, federal high skilled, this amount that is allotted for 2024. Tell me if you agree that 900,000 is more than 110,000. Because this federal high skilled stream is federal skilled workers, Canadian experience class, and federal trades, right? So I think that I can safely say that 900,000 is more than 100,000. Let me know if you agree in the chat. Definitely. Okay. Certainly. Right. So the numbers aren't, the math is not mathing, right? The math is not mathing for this amount. So this is where we need to not just put all our eggs in the express entry basket, hoping that Canadian experience class or federal skilled worker or the other categories will catch us. But we need to capitalize on this 26,100 amount to help with either express entry points or our route towards permanent residency, which I'm assuming that you guys are all trying to go towards, right? So Francophone immigration, Francophone means French speaking, and Francophone immigration is targeting French speaking communities that are outside of Quebec. And when I heard that, I'm like, what? French speaking communities are outside of Quebec, right? Where are these communities? So we have a map here of all of Canada, and there's little nodes all across the different provinces for the French speaking communities. And believe it or not, Toronto is on this list. Ottawa is on this list. Hamilton, anybody who knows Hamilton, is living in Hamilton, has been to Hamilton in Ontario, is like an hour and 20 minutes from where I am, or an hour from Toronto there. So there are regular communities across Canada that are classified as Francophone communities or French-speaking communities, quite a number of them even in Atlantic Canada. So how Francophone immigration works is that there are some communities that have shown a more of an interest than others. So there's 14 communities. Hamilton, Ontario is one of them. Calgary, Alberta, Whitehorse, Yukon have shown more of an interest in welcoming immigrants for Francophone immigration, but it doesn't mean that you can't go to any one of the other Francophone communities, right? It's just that these ones have shown that, hey, we need people, okay? So there's a list of 14 communities that say, okay, Sudbury in Ontario, different communities all across Canada. So within Francophone mobility, there are two different streams. So you know how express entry has federal skilled worker, Canadian experience class, federal trades? Well, within Francophone immigration, they have the Francophone mobility work permit, and then there's Francophone immigration specific to express entry. And we're going to talk about these two streams. Drop a 1 in the chat if any of this information is new to you. If anything feels new or foreign, is like, oh, I never know this. Oh, I never know that I'm a part of 900,000 people that don't add up to 110,000, right? So, okay, cool. Thanks for dropping that chat in there. So we're going to talk about first the Francophone mobility work permits. So what this does is let somebody who is proficient in French, and how you show French proficiency is by doing a French language test. So like how you would do IELTS or CELPIP for English, you would do the TEF for French, and you would say, okay, here I'm proficient in French, here are my scores, okay? So the French mobility work permit can work for somebody who is outside of Canada, but also if you are coming up on the end of your post-graduation work permit and you don't have a solution just yet, then an extension could be through the Francophone mobility work permit of the sort, right? So what you need to know though is that you do need a job offer in one of the French-speaking communities, one of the Francophone communities outside of Quebec. The job cannot be in agriculture, so you can't be a farm worker. And the language at the job, it doesn't even have to be French. Because like I said, guys, Toronto is on the list, and Toronto is I've never bumped into anybody or any place in Toronto that is speaking French. So the job and the language of the job does not have to be French. It can be an English speaking job in a mostly English speaking community that classifies as a Francophone community, right? And what this does is offers you a work permit to work in Canada. So that is just the work permit stream, right? Remember, there's two streams, and we're going to talk about the express entry stream in just a minute there. So stick with me. It's not a permanent residency program when you get the work permit, but the work permit qualifies you to work in Canada for X amount of time. And then through express entry, you would join the pool, you would have the French points, you would have Canadian experience class points because you would have worked in Canada. And then you become eligible for permanent residency through having French and being enhanced by the French points, right? So who is eligible? It's the general eligibility for a work permit in Canada, which talks about whether you have the proof of funds, and proof of funds is showing that you have enough funds to support your family, ties to your home country, because remember that this is a work permit, so you still have to show that you're going to go back to your country. No criminal record, good health, and you have an eligible job offer. You have to have a French proficiency score of CLB, Canadian Language Benchmark, of 5. So 5 is like an intermediate level. The lowest is 4. So 5 is you passed and you did a little bit more. Mostly in speaking and listening, right? So they prioritize speaking and listening. I would recommend getting a good score, at least a 7 even across the board in all, because that will get you the maximum points. But this is the bare minimum to qualify as a French speaker or bilingual, since most of you are probably English speaking, right? Any French speakers in the group here? If you're a French speaker, just say yes in the chat there, but I'm assuming that most people are English speaking. Now, the jobs that you want to get in these Francophone communities can be in any tier or any NOC. We know that express entry is limited to nothing below tier 3. So you have to be in a tier 3 all the way up to 0. Otherwise, you don't even qualify for express entry. But the Francophone mobility work permit stream allows you to get a job in any NOC, any tier, and qualify for the work permit to work in Canada. Okay, so that's who is eligible. And this is just a quick idea of the language test and what is required. So I said like 5 is just above pass because 4 you just passed, right? But that's not necessarily what we want to strive for, but it's an idea to help you understand that this is where they're at in terms of what they classify as a French speaker. 7 is where you're like, okay, you are proficient in French, okay? So there is a little bit of a requirement on the part of the employer. So this is no LMIA, right? Anybody in the chat is familiar with what an LMIA is? Anybody does not know what an LMIA is? Just put it in the chat if you do not know. Say, I don't know what an LMIA is. Labor Market Impact Assessment. You don't know. Okay. So a labor market impact assessment, I'll stop for a second so you can break up the screen. Labor market impact assessment means that a company has shown the government that they cannot find anybody locally in Canada to fill this job, so they have to get permission to hire internationally. For an employer to prove that, they would have had to prove that they posted the job. If any Canadians applied, they would have to say these Canadians are not eligible because of these reasons. So therefore, we need somebody who is not in Canada or who does not have legal status to work in Canada to work and fill this job. So people who are here on farm work, people who are here on probably even specialized work, specialized projects, unique type of jobs or jobs that Canadians don't want are usually here on an LMIA approved work permit. So that's what an LMIA is. So these jobs that qualify for Francophone immigration do not need that assessment because of the special provision through French speaking, through the Francophone immigration program, okay? So you don't need an LMIA. So, but the employer does have to give you the offer on employment through IRCC. They have to pay $230 measly and give you an offer of employment and the exemption number to say that you don't need an LMIA, right? So how it works, pathway to PR, is that you get a job offer, the employer does the compliance process, and this is the full process. you apply for your work permit, work in Canada for a year. You guys are already in Canada, so this will actually work for you if you're coming up to the end of your work permit and you need an extension of the sort. This is a pathway to get that extension. So you continue to work in Canada, join the express entry pool, and then you would receive an invitation to apply with enough points in express entry and apply for PR. So that's basically the process that somebody who would have been given the Francophone Mobility work permit. So now we're going to talk about the express entry stream, which I'm thinking most of you are interested in. So usually express entry requirements and programs are the federal skilled worker, federal trades, Canadian experience class, and some provincial nominee go through express entry as well. First language or official language you choose is the one that you're strongest in. So when you're filling out your express entry profile, of course, you're putting that your English speaking or French speaking, and you're putting in your test scores. Now for French, if you have French on there, you have strong French language skills, you get 50 additional points on your express entry profile, even if French is your second language. So if you put that IELTS is primary, French is secondary, you can get 50 additional points, which can be the difference between staying in the express entry pool forever until it expires or being called for, being called for an invitation to apply. And Raquel is saying that she needs all the points that she can get, right? Because people have different things working against them. People have their age or how much work experience they have or how much education they have. And 50 points can be the difference maker between getting an invitation to apply or staying in the pool until it expires or never being called, right? So remember what I was saying is that, all right, so that's what I'm going to talk about now, Barbara, is that if you get 4 or lower, you get 25 additional points, right? Even if you didn't take the English test. So 50 points is the maximum number of points, right? So this is where I said, even though 5 is what they'll accept, I want you to shoot for a 7, right? So if you get 7 or higher in all 4 French language skills, you can get 25 points. If you get CRLB lower, if in English, or 50 additional points if you scored 5 or higher in all English skills, right? So we want to have the maximum number of points possible, which usually, like we notice with English language, a higher points or higher score gives you more points. It's the same with French, right? So we want to score for us B, and we know that B is not anything like a superstar. We're going to go back to the language test scores. B is literally like 70%. Right? So we want to get to a proficiency of B, which is what I ask or tell people to aim for, that level of proficiency. Don't scrape through. But even if you scrape through, you still are going to get additional points if you get at least a 5 in speaking and listening. Speaking and listening. So I'm gonna touch on the questions at the end here if you get a 5 in French, because then we can speak a little bit. But 50 is the maximum points, 25 is the minimum. And we can do even assimilation, okay? So once you have gone through, you've gotten your test, you have your French language points, you want to join the express entry pool, you will likely receive an invitation to apply, but nothing is guaranteed. If anybody in immigration uses the word guarantee, run, right? Everything is going to be based on the landscape at that time. And so you don't want to dilly-dally. You don't want to delay, right? You want to get yourself in the best position that you can, given the current information that we have today, okay? So then you want to apply for PR and move to Canada as a PR. So even though you're here on a 3-year work permit, don't wait for the 3 years, right? I know 7 people that have left Canada in the last 6 months, and majority of them are because they waited too long. And I know a family that is on the edge right now, waited too long to take action or to get knowledgeable or to attend an information session or to put themselves in the best place to convert to permanent residency. So you don't want to wait until, oh, I have 3 years, let me figure it out in 3 years. Nope. Get it figured out as soon as you can. because the sooner that you can get it figured out, the sooner it is that you don't have to worry about any future changes in immigration, and you don't have to worry about your status in Canada, because I'm assuming that you guys came here with the intention to convert to permanent residency. Is that a yes? If that's a yes, if that's true for you that you came here to convert to permanent residency, put a Y in the chat. Okay. So going home is not part of the plan, right? So even if you're on a 3-year work permit, don't wait till under 3 years, right? The family that I know, that the latest one that I know, they left 2 weeks ago because their permit was going to expire in May, and they didn't figure out a way to convert to permanent residency. They were in the wrong tier, they don't have enough points, all kind of stuff, right? So you want to set yourself up as best as you can. And that family was here for 5 years, okay? They came to school for 2 years, and then they worked for 3 years and still didn't have enough points, okay? So here's your solution to you, my solution for you, right? So some of you may be new to me. I'm a Canadian immigration coach. I have been doing this since 2019, and I am a Canadian immigrant who came to Canada 10 years ago and became a citizen in 5 years of moving to Canada. And what I do is I empower you guys through providing you with information and access to quality services and products to help you on your Canadian immigration journey. So I'm giving you this information so that you can make informed decisions and you can know where you stand. Because a lot of people don't know where they stand. Some people don't know that they have a problem, right? I spoke to somebody today who didn't realize that just because you're in Canada and you're working doesn't mean or equal to permanent residency. It doesn't, right? You have to figure out what's that question mark between study, work, question mark, permanent residency. There's a question mark there that you have to figure out, and not everybody will go through express entry. So my solution for you with regards to this, right? And so one question came through regarding this as well, is what can I recommend in terms of French classes or French lessons? Now, there are centers that you can go to, and then there are private tutors. Centers, the learning curve in a center is longer because you don't necessarily get one-on-one attention. You also don't necessarily have flexibility in terms of the schedule, and a lot of the classes are in person. So then you have to go there. Most of you probably don't drive. You have to take the bus, whatever the case may be. And the classes are probably late, or you don't even work with your schedule. So what I've done is I've connected with a French tutor who is French speaking, and she has been a French tutor for many years. And she is a Canadian immigrant herself. So she understands the immigration woe. She understands how it works in the immigration landscape, and that many of us are trying to get to stay, and understands how French can improve your express entry score and help you to convert. The classes are going to be virtual, and the groups are going to be small. So 3 to 5 people, which means that there's not many spaces available for people in each cycle of intake. So that's something you want to take into consideration. We want to keep the classes small so people actually learn and progress and get to the level of a level 7. That's the aim, is to get you to level 7 to help you to pass the French proficiency test and get the points, or if you're running out of work permit time, convert to a Francophone mobility work permit stream, okay? Classes are on Monday evening, Wednesday evening, so they work with your work schedule. If you finish work at 5:30 or 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, then it's in the evening of the Monday evening, and we have Saturday classes. A lot of centers don't have weekend classes or classes that work with your schedule. Like I said, she's a proficient French tutor, French first language. She's a fellow Canadian immigrant, and she sets realistic expectations. She doesn't beat around the bush. She'll tell you, based on an assessment, how much time does she think that you need to become proficient at a level 7 in French, to help you to understand realistically, because you don't want to, if you only have 2 months on your work permit, are you going to learn French in 2 months? Are you though? Are you? Maybe, right? Maybe you have some French. I see Jean-Paul on here. Jean-Paul, are you French speaking? I'm just assuming that just because of your name, but I could be wrong. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But in a small group, you get more one-on-one attention compared to a center, right? And this is information that is coming from people who have been in centers and have left the centers because it didn't work with their schedule, and they didn't get enough attention because they're in a big class, and it's easy to not get the kind of proficiency that you need in a big class or environment. You kind of get lost, right? So that's my solution. Okay, so you still need some improvement in French to pass the test, I'm guessing, Jean. So here are the packages for the French tutor that I'm working with right now, right? So she has a 10-hour package and a 20-hour package, which are basically the same, similar, but just different amount of times that you're locking in, right? Okay, so the 10-hour class is $400 for the package of 10, which is basically $40 a class, which is it's better than a center, because in a center, you're in a class with multiple people and you're paying $300 or $400 a month, right? And this is 10 one-hour sessions, right? Saturday classes are available, which is not the same at centers, and she's going to work with your schedule in terms of a Monday and a Wednesday evening that works, right? And you can take the bigger package because she's going to help you set a realistic expectations on how much time she thinks that you need based on where you are at right now to get to a level 7 language proficiency. Okay, so these are the two packages that are available. And what I would want, I'm going to open up for question and answer in just a second here. But your next steps, now that you know this information, I've empowered you with this information to sleep on it, to figure it out, to figure out like, okay, how much time do I have? And how much time am I willing to spend on figuring out how long it's going to take for you to become proficient in French? How long do you want to spend in the express entry pool? How long do you want to spend trying to figure out how this permanent residency thing is going to work for you, right? So your first course of action is going to be, I'm assuming that you all are here because you want to learn French and you probably think you need more express entry points. Yes in the chat, or no, if that's my assumption is incorrect. You can talk a little bit in the Q&A section. Perfect, thanks for responding there. I want you to check your express entry score. Now I have a quick video to send to you at the end of this call here to how to check your express entry score in 5 minutes. And you can simulate different things. And I do recommend you do that. Simulate, if you haven't done the English test yet, simulate how much you're going to get if you're going to get like a maximum English test. Because if you're English speaking, you should take both tests, okay? So simulate how much points you have based on a maximum score, minimum score, lowest score, scrape through. Simulate 1 year working in Canada, 2 years working in Canada, 3 years working in Canada, and compare it against the express entry rounds of invitation. So we showed that at the beginning. I'm sorry if you missed it, but at the beginning, what I showed is that express entry right now, the last score that they called in a general draw, which general means anybody in the pool, is 549 points. If I was in the pool at 549 points, I would not get an invitation to apply for since December. I would be in hot water if that was the year that I was in the express entry pool. And a lot of people right now are in hot water, whether they realize it or not. So you want to check your score. You want to secure a spot in the class. Now I said that if the classes are small, we like to keep them small. So you're going to have to secure a spot in a class that has availability. So you want to definitely secure a spot as soon as you can and understand that limited spots are available, right? So I'm going to open up here for question and answer. Just take off my screen here. So drop in the question in the chat, of course, if anything stood out to you, if you have any questions. I know Barbara had a question here. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a quick simulation. For anybody who's never done this exercise before, we're going to do a quick simulation to check. So this is a quick Google search of a comprehensive score ranking calculator. Okay. This is a tool that is provided by the government of Canada. This is nothing special. This is nothing secret. Yes, the screen is coming up right now. You should be seeing it now. Okay, so perfect, great. So comprehensive ranking system tool for skilled immigrants. So Sudane, I love that you're participating. Can I call on you for a live example? All right, so ladies, I think he's single, just in case.
Never married.
All right, single, never married. Okay, and how old are you, Sudane?
23.
All right, nice and young. Okay, so that's you get the maximum scores. Yeah. Yeah. So your highest level of education. So Sudine, I'm thinking you did something in your country and then you came to Canada and did something else, correct?
No, I did. I just came here to do a bachelor's.
Oh, right.
I
Yes,
left
you did
before
a
high school.
bachelor's. So you're actually an odd duck. Most people come here after they did the bachelor. So you did a 3-year bachelor program, is that right?
4 years.
4-year bachelor program. Okay, so you did a bachelor's degree and you did earn a Canadian degree. So we're gonna say yes. And it was a Celine, you're not a good example. Degree or diploma. But that's okay because then you'll I don't know if you've ever done this exercise before, but you'll know after this whether you're in hot water or not, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna say that you did the English language test. We're gonna say you did IELTS. Have you done a language test before now?
No, I haven't, but
Okay.
soon.
Right. And guys, your language test score is valid for 2 years. So that's something that you want to build into your timeline to figure out, do I have enough points now? Is it wise to do the test now? Do I need to improve my points before I do the test? Because you don't want the test to expire while you're in the pool and you don't get invited to apply it. So Sidine is super smart and we're going to say I'm going to shut up the exam and I'm going to get 100%, right? So let's put the highest scores here on the language test. Okay. Do you have other language results? We're going to say no, right? For the purpose of the first example, in the last 10 years, how long have you been working in Canada yet, Sidine?
About a year since graduation.
All right, we're gonna say 1 year. And in the last 10 years, how long did you have any work experience in your country before?
No,
No. Okay. You're probably a good example. Okay, so no certification in Canada, right? That is more for trade people. So when they ask this question about a valid job offer supported by a labor market impact assessment, that's where I was talking about an LMIA, Sidine. So though
oh,
you have a job offer in Canada because you are legally working, it is not supported by an LMIA because the employer hasn't said, government, we can't find anybody. Can we take this foreigner? That's not the case, right? You're on an open work permit and you have that. So the answer to this question is no, right?
okay.
Do you have a nomination from a province? You don't. If you do, you would know. Do you have a brother or sister that is living in Canada who is a citizen or a resident?
No,
Okay, so we're going to say no. We're going to calculate your score, Sidine. Okay, so 474, right? So with the education that you had in Canada, you worked in Canada for a year, you aced the English language test, 474, right? And if I were to go to the express entry, so when you do this exercise now, you go to express entry rounds of invitation, okay? You scroll down and you go to see previous rounds. And this is where it pulls up all of the last points score. So for a general draw, Sidine doesn't have enough points. Now, I think, Sidine, you might be in healthcare. You might be in a healthcare knock. So you could be okay. But for people who are not in a special category, because you are in
the thing,
psychology.
yes, but I think based on the job description, it wouldn't fall in a healthcare job,
Okay.
fall in a research job.
Okay, research job, right? But there could be, right? Have you looked at the healthcare knocks?
Yeah, there's not the one that I think best describes it is research assistant at university, even though I'm not there, but that's the one that matches the closest.
Perfect. So you've done some homework, which means that you don't classify as a healthcare occupation. And so this 422 won't be applied to you. So right now, as we speak, you don't have enough points, right? So now let's say if we were to do the French test, okay? So where it says, do you have other language results? We're going to say TEF. And then we're going to say speaking. So let me just go back to the presentation real quick right here. Let me just open it up over here first. Right. So we just so that we have an idea of where the French is, right? So we know that 207, that range is a score 7. So we're going to put that he got 7. He did really well on his test. He's super smart. Speaking. So the speaking at score 7 is 310. Okay. Listening is 249. Reading is 310. No, reading is 207. And writing is 310. Okay. So we said, well, 1 year work experience. So then he's on a 3-year work permit. So we could even play around with this number here, but let's just see what that does. Calculate your score. Let's check this first. First of all, language, additional points, French language skills. So right now he has 0 points for French language skills. So let's calculate now. So French language skills now, he got 50 points for French language skills, and now he's at 536. Okay, and if we go back to the rounds of invitations, right now they're at 549, but last week they were at 524. So if Sudine knew French and was in the express entry pool last week on March the 25th, that's not last week, but the week before, he would have received an invitation to apply. And not only that, the French language proficiency draws, which are the special draws for people who have these French points, are significantly lower. So 388, and Sudine would have received an invitation to apply for permanent residency in Canada last week in 2 opportunities on either March the 25th or March the 26th. He would have received an invitation to apply. He would be doing his permanent residency application right now, and that would have been done and over with. And he would never have to worry about immigration again. Let us see, well, until you become a citizen, but that's the easiest application you'll ever do. Right, so let's say if you got like a 5, right? Because I know Barbara was asking about what if you get a 5. So let's go to 5. So in speaking, a 5 is a 226. In listening, a 5 is a 118. Reading, 5 is 220. No, reading, I keep on messing that one up. 515. And writing is 226. Okay, so let's say he got just the bare minimum. Just calculate your score. So 478. So he didn't get the additional points of French language because he didn't get the benchmark, right? But when I spoke about the French language benchmark, that was for the Francophone mobility program, but he did get a little bit more points, right? So I don't recommend that anybody aim for 5 or the benchmark. I recommend you get a level, a 50, 75%, sorry, a B, and capitalize on these 50 points. And that's what the goal of working directly with a tutor is going to be. And also the goal of getting yourself in a French class, right? A center will get you there in a longer time. I know people who are currently in centers right now and they're complaining that the classes are too big, and also there's not enough one-on-one, and the teacher is not, as you know, you've all gone through university. If you were falling behind in class, was your teacher saying, oh, are you learning? No, right? It shows in your grades whether you're passing or failing and you get a grade, okay? So do we have any more questions that are coming up for you guys? So I do know that a couple questions came through at the very beginning. So I think that based on everything that I've told you so far, that you understand those questions were answered, except maybe one that was about being visually impaired. So Sudine just raised his hand. So I'm going to let you talk, Sudine, ask your question.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for the session and the information. It's very, very helpful. And I just want to think about the classes realistically, because I know we don't have like forever, and you know, we can only learn so much in a limited time. So I guess I was wondering if the classes, I don't know what the structure of the language tests are like, but are the classes structured to prepare for the language test, or is it just catered to learning French overall? Or is there a way to even cater the classes just to the language test?
It is structured towards the language test, because that is how the current tutor works. That's the environment that she works in. And what she does is work towards a proficiency of a B, which is the level 7. So she definitely teaches towards the level of proficiency that you need in order to pass the test, because that's really the measurement of proficiency, right? Because not many people are learning French for the sake of French. They could be learning French for their jobs or French for immigration, and they have to prove their competency, usually through a test. So it's definitely structured towards the TEF.
Okay. And also, I noticed that there were 3 days on the schedule. So you would choose one day out of the week, right?
You can choose 1 or 2. That is going to be something that the tutor might recommend to you based on your level or based on how fast you want to go. But whichever package that you have, you can attend 3 classes, depending on if the other class is also full, right?
Okay.
So that's definitely a question or a conversation that you can have on a one-on-one basis based on your specific needs. Because coming out of this class, what you're going to be doing is, or this session is booking a call with the French tutor so that she can say, okay, based on your assessment, I think you need a minimum of 30 hours or 40 hours to become a level B, because maybe some people know French. Like Jean said that he needs to brush up. So maybe he does know some French and he only needs 20 hours. We don't know. But that's what your goal out of here now. You know that you know the information, you know whether you need French or not. We know that, Sadine, you probably do need some French, or you need to move up in TEER or knock to go into a healthcare knock. That will help you to get called in healthcare, or you're going to need some more points, right?
Okay.
So Raquel, I know you had submitted a question before about visual impaired. So the classes are delivered over Zoom or Google Meet. So an environment like this that you're mostly familiar with, she'll do any share screen or whatever. She has all the materials that you need in order to participate in the class. She gives you homework, just to text the homework in the next class. And so any special, I don't know if there's anything special that you would need outside of the Zoom platform to accommodate for that. So that might have to be a side conversation that we have, but let me know if there's anything special out that's, if it's delivered over Zoom, that you would need.
Oh, I can't. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
Hi.
okay, great, great, great.
Mhm.
Hi. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Because like it's mostly about, enlarging things and stuff. So I have my external monitor, so that's fine.
Perfect.
But I wonder though, like in doing the test, I guess there are test centers. She would advise me how to request like for accessibility stuff, right?
Maybe if she has familiarity with that. When I spoke to her about the visual impaired, she hasn't had to work with somebody who's in visually impaired before. So it is outside of what she has experienced. But this is Canada and they make provisions, accessibility provisions usually all the time. So maybe it's a specific test center. So that's something that you can explore with her. That's something we can explore together since you're a part of our club. We can see if there's something that we need to check for specifically. And I know that you mentioned, is the assessment session free? Yes. When you book a call with her, you're booking a free call with her to say, okay, yes, I'm interested in classes or I'm at this level, and you're going to book with her and secure your spot in whatever class based on your schedule. Will you be sharing the contact details? I absolutely will. Yes. After this, you're going to get an email with the contact information. Let me know in the chat who is interested in starting French classes. Like, how serious are we in this chat right now? Yes, if you're ready to start French classes and you know that you need it. Cool. Okay, so yeah, just drop it in the chat. Yes, I'm ready to start French classes. Yes, I'm ready to start French classes. Perfect. Yes, guys,
Yeah,
immigration is changing, constantly changing. Sorry, Sudine, go ahead.
I just had two more quick questions.
Yeah, of course.
One, so for the payment, would it be like a lump sum payment, or do you pay per class, or do you pay like record? Like, what's the payment, I guess, process? And I guess related to that is this like a one-time thing, or is it like an ongoing like thing? So that let's say you miss this round, is there like a next round later on that you can join, something like that?
So right now, what we're doing is intake for the class sessions that are open right now, right? So when you pay, what you're paying for is a package of either 10 classes or 20 classes. So you're paying the 400 or the 800. Now, typically when you work with her, you're paying, you're doing an e-transfer. If you need a provision to pay using a card or whatever the case may be based on what your financial situation is like, then we can make those provisions as well. But you're paying for a 10-hour package or a 20-hour package. And the reason for that is, guys, one, you're either doing this or not. Okay. So you're committing to the classes. And even at the test centers, if you want to pay for classes, you don't pay for one class, you pay for a package of 10 usually. And that's with French Alliance, right? You pay for a 10 class package and you have to work with those 10 classes. And then what you do is to refresh your package for as many times as you need to become proficient to a level 7. What the French tutor recommends is about 60 to 80 hours. And she'll tell you that in the session based on the level that you're at right now. So you pay for the 10 classes. When the 10 classes done, you purchase another 10 class package. We don't have a recurring thing right now. It's going to be definitely based on your commitment level and you securing your spot in the class. Now, when the classes are full, the only way a spot becomes available is if somebody drops out or we open up more sessions. So you definitely want to capitalize on what's available as soon as you can based on your need and availability, of course.
Okay.
Thank you for Mhm.
If I can jump in then. So because for me, I have classes up until August.
Mhm.
So in terms of like booking, like is it a case where I could say book or make like a part payment note to say, okay, when you have a spot in September, like make sure that I'm front in the line because I am, doing a commitment from now. Like, is there something like that? Because I don't, like I said, like for me, I don't really want to like jump in, even though I'm ready to jump in. Like, I don't really want to jump in now, and I don't know what my course load will be like.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point based on where you're at in terms of school, and everybody has different schedules. So I'm pretty sure that's something that could be accommodated. That could be a discussion with her, because if you secure your spot, then the spot has to be available when the time comes. So that's definitely that is something that I would bring up in the session with her to try and accommodate for that. But that's a good idea.
Okay, then thanks.
Mhm. Okay, do we have any more questions? Thank you guys for joining, by the way, and taking the time out to be here. I'm hoping that this was helpful for you. You will get information at the end of this, and you'll get a video to refresh you on anything that I went through in the presentation as well on Francophone immigration and everything that you need to know about Francophone immigration. You'll also get the email on how to calculate express entry points, exactly what I did with Sudine a while ago, because it's a good exercise no matter what the situation is. If you are gunning for express entry, you need to know where you stand in comparison to where the government is standing to see if it is actually a viable solution for you, because a lot of people are tapping out because they don't have enough points. Okay. And this is people who have been here for 5 years on 3-year work permits, very similar to the situation of what you guys are in. Some are on 1 year, some are on 5 years. So you definitely want to set yourself up as quickly as possible and put yourself in the best position. So if we don't have any more questions, we can sign off here. Yes, I have a session that is a recording just like this that you'll have access to. Yes. And if you have any more questions, let me know. If not, we are going to sign off for now. If you know anybody else that is in a situation like you guys, of course, share my information with them. You can forward them the email that you got in response to this, or however you responded to this on YouTube or on my website. Send them the information for sure. Help a friend, help a fellow Canadian immigrant. That's what we're here for. That's what I'm doing. That's what this platform is all about. So again, I'm Christina, your Canadian immigration coach and your Canadian immigration BFF. Subscribe on YouTube if you're not already. I have lots of helpful videos just like this on all the topics that are relevant to you and where you guys are at, and continue to be in your Canadian immigration journey. Thank you again for joining, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.